Oh, the Vegas Golden Knights. I know a lot of you out there are resenting this team for simply being in the Stanley Cup final, but to me, the biggest disappointment is that they're not getting nearly enough attention. I'm talking about, imagine them as a football team, as a basketball team, as a baseball team. You wouldn't hear the end of their tremendous story making it to the final round in this their very first season of existence. So let's begin with the Sharks angle, because I realize a lot of you are watching this video because of my connection to the team. And I'll just say this, I understand if you're still bitter, if you're still upset about what happened in round 2, and that's why you don't like the Vegas Golden Knights, and that's why you don't want them to go on and win the Stanley Cup. It's harsh, but I'll understand it. I will take that as a legitimate reason, but hear me out on a couple other things, beginning with the criticism that they had an unfair way of picking their players. Okay, there might be some truth to that. They had it pretty good in the way they were able to poach from other teams. That being said, how many people were complaining about that process back in summer? How many people thought they would even have a 500 team, let alone one that won the Pacific Division or won the Western Conference in terms of the playoffs and is now in the Stanley Cup final? I don't think anybody was betting on that. So I think the complaints are largely in seeing the result of what this team has put together, and that is completely on them. They have done a tremendous job coming together as a group, a job that I don't think anybody saw coming. As for betting on something, would you bet that the Vegas Golden Knights, after this season, will make the playoffs in 19 of their next 25 seasons? Why do I say that? Because the Sharks, in 26 seasons, have made the playoffs 20 times. I realize that's not winning the Stanley Cup. I get it. But the only way to win the Cup is to get an invitation to the dance. And the Sharks have been doing that on a very consistent basis to the tune, again, of 20 out of 26 tries. Would you be willing to bet that Vegas can match that in their first 26 years? Probably not. How has Vegas been able to do this? It has taken a certain amount of observation and time and digesting this and processing the right words to explain it. And that is pretty simple when you look at it now in reverse. They just picked a lot of role players for their team. You look at the NHL, there's 3 types of players. There's the superstars, there's the role players, and then there's the remainder of players who fill out the roster. Vegas doesn't have that remainder of players. And you might argue there are a few superstars, but nobody knew that that's what they'd be getting going into this season. They picked up a whole bunch of role players that have turned out to take them very far. Now I'll get to the chips on their shoulders in just a second, but maybe this is something in a copycat league like the NHL that other teams will try and duplicate in the future, in the very near future. That's a new trend, a new way to look at this that we haven't really seen before. We haven't seen a lot of teams find success with this method, but Vegas has, and I want to know who else might try it too. I think the one thing we definitely do know, the one thing we can take away, is the importance of chemistry. This is a group that all had something in common. They all had those chips on their shoulders of being passed up by their former teams, of being exposed by their former teams. And when they all arrived in Nevada, they were a new group. They had a new chapter. They had a new opportunity. And from everybody I've talked to this season in the hockey world, that's the one thing they point to. I couldn't figure it out either at first. I really couldn't figure out why at first this team had so much success. Like this is, you don't hear about this every day. Am I pulling for the Golden Knights to win the Stanley Cup? I feel like their story is good enough even if they don't hoist the cup. I wouldn't mind seeing them win it, but I think I'd rather have it go to the other guys.